you the live coverage of the Apostolic Journey to Timor-Leste, September 9 to 11. Stay tuned.
Consecrated persons, seminarians, and catechists, a very warm welcome, one and all. And welcome to all of those who have stayed on after our coverage of the Pope's visit with children who were helped by who are being helped by charitable agencies in Papua New Guinea. A very vibrant and exciting encounter with them. Thanks go out to my colleague, Francesca Merlo, who provided the commentary for that event. And after a short journey from the technical school where he met with the children to the Shrine of Mary Help of Christians, we'll now have his meeting with pastoral workers from Papua New Guinea. I'd also like to welcome all of those listening in on our partner stations, and a word of thanks to those networks that are helping to bring this message to you around the world. I'd like especially to mention EWN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom TV India and Sunday Shalom, Shalom World TV, Catholic TV, Luminous Radio India, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea. Thanks to the local and diocesan and church radio stations around the world who are bringing the Pope's message and all of the events of the Pope's journey to you this week and next. Reminder too, this broadcast is also available live as we speak on our Vatican Media audio app and our Vatican News website. You can access both at www.vaticannews.va and via our Facebook page. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christopher Wells. I will be providing English language translations and commentary for the event here this afternoon in Papua New Guinea. And as the Pope arrives, he is greeted with song. And, of course, everybody in the shrine enthusiastically greeting our Holy Father and taking pictures of him as he arrives. And as with many of the events here, the Holy Father is brought in, staying very close to the people who are present and giving them a chance to touch his hand and smile and say a few words and perhaps get a selfie as the Pope makes his way through the crowd here at the sanctuary to the stage set up for him. It is a very long journey, and the Pope has been making use of a wheelchair to help conserve his strength, but he's been in very, very good spirits and has visibly happy to be close to and visit with the people of Papua New Guinea in these last few days. Earlier, the Holy Father spent a couple of days at the beginning of his trip in Indonesia, in the capital, Jakarta, and has appeared to be invigorated with the journey despite the thousands and thousands of miles that he's traveled. And in a few moments, we will begin the ceremony. Holy Father inviting everybody to be seated, and he will be welcomed here by the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. That is Bishop Otto Sapari, the Bishop of the Diocese of Berena.
Francis.
And now we begin.
The cardinals, bishops, priests, consecrated men and women, seminarians and catechists from Papua New Guinea and the region of Oceania. I offer you a warm welcome to this beloved country. It is a beautiful land with 800 different languages and cultures and of thousands of tribes. We represent Catholic and goodwill who are our collaborators in the mission of the Church. We are delighted and glad that you travel thousands of kilometers to this part of the world. One might say, the periphery of the world. Be with us as part of the Apostolic journey. Your Holiness, we are full of joy to have you, our Chief Shepherd, with us today, for you are the future of France. Above all, your presence among us helps to lift France and rekindle the commitment and dedication to Christ. And at this time, your in this land, and we us individually as he confirms our Christian in this regard, you are royalty of you, Holy Father, and in your action, well as you are going and tireless commitment, global time evangelization in Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. Welcome, Holy Father. We love you. Thank you.
And that was the welcome address by the Bishop of Berena, Bishop Otto Supari, the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. We do apologize. There's a few technical difficulties on that feed. We're hoping to get them cleared up as we begin hearing witness testimonies from representatives of the people who are here, beginning with Sister.
Holy Father,
And
it's a great honor to stand in front of you.
this is Sister Lorena Janelle.
Thank you very much for inviting me out of ministry, the house the house of hope, security, shelter, hope of healing, forgiveness and integration for those in and sorry. Family members, different denominations, including Muslim community, human rights defenders, police, court officials, and lawyers, postpone this address. So far, I've been able to rescue 250 torture, burning, even killing. Provide the holistic approach with counseling, therapy,
Family members, different denominations, human rights defenders, police, court officials, and lawyers to protect women from false accusations and extortion. So far, we've been able to help about 250 women and a small group of men. We provide a holistic approach with counseling, therapy, medical, psychological, financial, and emotional help. I'd like to tell you the story of one of the women we have helped. Maria came to us in 2017. She was so badly tortured and burnt that we did not know if we could save her life. Her family did not visit her due to feelings of fear and shame. We visited with her family every week and informed them of her progress. Eventually, the family visited Maria and then realized how much she had suffered. Maria went home to her family after about 6 months, and 2 years later, the court ruled that she was innocent. Today, she is working in our team, standing up for human rights and the dignity and equality of women. She witnesses to the importance of love and forgiveness among all people. How can we communicate to the deprived and those on the peripheries that Jesus Christ and His Church cares for them?
Father, once more, and I know that you are speaking strongly.
I'd like to thank you, Holy Father, once more. I know that you're speaking strongly for us.
Receive love, respect, and hope to you, Holy Father, in the name of Jesus Christ.
And a word of thank you at the end of her witness testimony. Thanking the Holy Father for speaking up and helping them. And Sister Lorena goes up to the Holy Father and gives him a hug and exchanges a few words. Again, pretty customary with speakers, though they'll have a moment to greet the Father, and they often embrace him warmly.
His Holiness, I am Father Emmanuel Moku.
And now we have Father Emmanuel Moku, who is priest of the Archdiocese of Port Moresby. And And again, as long as we're having a little bit of trouble with the feed, I will read the testimony that Father Emmanuel has given. I am Father Emmanuel Moku, and I am 64 years old. His Eminence, John Cardinal Rabat, ordained me in 2012 when I was 52 years old for the Archdiocese of Port Moresby. I was a late vocation. I want to share a few obstacles which I encountered in my seminary formation. My cultural identity and an expectation of my clan is to be productive. When I chose the priesthood over my cultural norms, I was ridiculed and rejected.
My people also affected me in my study.
And this negative response had an effect on my studies.
Men,
My clan expects men to become fathers and to work and feed their people. As a seminarian, I was therefore viewed as unfruitful. This made me feel hopeless.
this made me hopeless. Number 3, when I was ordained by His Eminence, Sir Cardinal John Ribat, in 2012.
Number 3, when I offered myself to the Archbishop, however, to serve as a priest and was ordained, I made my clan, my family proud. They said, "Our son is a priest."
I stood in front of them
to celebrate with the Cardinal.
I
believe my service as a priest is my contribution towards building up the kingdom of God here on earth.
of the vineyard of God on earth. The last part of my sharing, I want to share my cultural challenges in my ministry as a priest. The first one, the challenge of moving from a local church.
I also want to share my challenges in my priestly ministry, the challenge of moving from a local church that has received so much from others to a church that has to support itself.
To be a local church, self-sufficient, sustained. Secondly,
the challenge of communicating the twofold purpose of marriage as both companionship for life and the caring and educating of children in Papua New Guinea is another challenge. The third challenge is the young people.
The young people are especially called.
The young people are especially called.
They should be trained. They should be cultivated. They should be nurtured.
They should be trained. They should be cultivated. They should be lectured.
Let them embrace priestly vocation.
Let them embrace a priestly vocation as a diocesan priest or a religious priest. Let's raise up priests for the church. And lastly, my response to the constant struggle to integrate the Catholic faith in our cultural identity.
Oceania. Let the face of Christ
show in the culture of Papua New Guinea. And again, thanks for bearing with us. I've been reading the prepared texts along with the speakers, precisely because of the difficulties in the audio feed. and hopefully providing a service as others. So I know that some of you can probably hear the testimonies a little bit better, and I hope that my reading is not distracting from what the speakers are saying. And again, thank you for your patience with us. In the modern world, despite all of the marvels of technology, we still sometimes encounter difficulties, and perhaps a reason to be humble even in the modern technological world. A small break for music, and we'll allow the music to play for a little while. In fact, it's live choir singing for those of you listening on the radio, and we'll give them a few moments. And now we'll have a testimony from Grace Rakia, who will offer a personal reflection on the challenges of synodality.
I stand here on behalf of my fellow brother catechist, James Atariba of the Archdiocese of Port Moresby. I read. My name is James Atariba, and I am 68.
In fact, this is a speaker speaking for Mr. James Atariva, a catechist from the Holy Family Parish of Kariva, in the Archdiocese of Port Moresby. My name is James Atariva, and I am 68 years old. I am from the Guilala district in the central province of Papua New Guinea. I'm sharing my experience as a catechist. I began my service as a pastoral worker in 1982 at Holy Family Parish in the Archdiocese of Port Moresby. For 15 years, I did my pastoral work and then graduated as a full-time catechist in 1997. During my time as a catechist, I've experienced good things as well as challenges. I have been responsible for 6 zones with 10 chapels. What I enjoy most about being a catechist is walking through the villages and serving the people, encouraging children in their catechesis, and being a friend to all. My main challenges are the following. The challenge of a lack of resources. At times, local communities supported me with financial assistance, but at other times, I have to sell garden vegetables to afford what I need to do my work effectively. Number two, the challenge of how to travel to the distant communities within the parish.
Currently, I have to work to the further communities in order to do my pastoral outreach. Third, the challenge of balancing the demands of pastoral ministry with the responsibilities of family life. Number four, the challenge of the influence of other denominations. Sometimes we receive criticisms, and I do not want the Catholic faithful to lose their faith. The fifth challenge, the challenge of fewer people committing to be catechists, especially the younger generation. Regardless of all these challenges, I am happy and I enjoy what I am doing because it is for the glory of God and to win more souls for heaven. I sum it up with James Etariba's question. How can we convey the enthusiasm for mission to young people? Thank you.
Heard, we now have a cleaner feed from the event here, so thanks to our tremendous technicians here and in Papua New Guinea who are working tirelessly to ensure a clean video and audio feed. And hopefully that will continue. We're now going to hear from Grace Rakia, the personal reflection on the challenges of synodality.
And at this stage, we will now listen to Grace Rakia, who represented Papua New Guinea in the Synod on Synodality in Rome last year. And she is now going to give us her testimony.
I returned from the first session of the Synod in 2023 with much enthusiasm, like returning from a to share with my family. Many people say that synodality is our way of life in Papua New Guinea.
Many people say that synodality is a way of life in the church here in Papua New Guinea, in the local church.
But as we continue to merge our Melanesian way of life with other ways and ideas, we risk losing this identity. The method of conversation used at the Synod gave me a voice to share the Melanesian beauty of communal and relational way of life. We in Papua New Guinea should develop and use more of such conversation methods so that the wisdom of the simple people in our peripheries may be heard, respected, and valued. As the first ever lay person to be given voting rights at a synod, I long to see more men and women as partners. Young people embrace their innocence and youthfulness. Priests and religious working together as collaborators. Priests being more servant-like leaders. Local PNG missionaries supported in their vocation. Lay people being active participants and decision makers as well. And Christians we all stand united at the foot of the cross of Jesus Christ. Finally, I long for the beautiful aspect of synodality in our Melanesian way of life, merge beautifully into the life of our local PNG church. Change is inevitable, but in PNG, it is a much more slower process, a process which requires patience and love. Holy Father, how can we share the beauty of our simple synodal way of life in such a rapid changing world? Thank you, Papa Santo. Thank you for listening to us and coming to visit us.
And again, that was Grace Rakia giving her personal reflection on the challenges of synodality in Papua New Guinea and sharing her experience of the synod last year.
Synod of synodality, a process of which Pope Francis invited participants from all churches throughout the world to make a contribution with the spirit of talking and listening to one another, walking together in search of a church that will be relevant to our time, but also inclusive of all voices to take part in the conversation. And that is how she expressed that beauty of that experience, and how, as Melanesians, we are very good at this practice. We open up for everyone to participate in the conversation, the discussions, because after that, everyone will contribute their food, their pig, and their sing-sing for any celebrations.
Okay, we now have an address to address from the Holy Father. Let's take that.
Presidente della Conferenza Episcopale per le sue parole, come pure James, Grace, Sor Lorena e Don Emanuel per le loro testimonianze. Sono contento di stare qui in questa bella chiesa salesiana. I salesiani sanno fare bene le cose. Complimenti. E questo è un santuario diocesano dedicato a Maria Ausilio dei cristiani, Maria Ausiliatrice. Voi sapete che io sono stato battezzato nella parrocchia di Maria Ausiliatrice a Buenos Aires. Speriamo che la pastorale funzioni meglio.
The Holy Father, beginning in 10, we do expect an English translation. He did tell, he reminded the faithful that he himself was baptized in a Salesian parish in Buenos Aires. And they are now here in a sanctuary associated with the Salesians, and especially with St. John Bosco. The sanctuary is dedicated to Mary, Help of Christians.
Grandi grazie ne sarebbero seguite. E così è successo. La chiesa è stata costruita ed è meravigliosa, ma è più bella quella di Buenos Aires. Ed è diventata centro di irradiazione del Vangelo, di formazione dei giovani e di carità. È diventata punto di riferimento per tanta gente.
Dear brothers and sisters, good evening. I greet you all with affection. Bishops, priests, consecrated men and women, seminarians and catechists. I thank the President of the Bishops' Conference for his words, as well as James, Grace, Sister Lorena, and Father Emmanuel for their testimonies. It is nice to be here in this Church of the Salesians, and I'm very happy to meet you in this diocesan shrine dedicated to Mary, Help of Christians. You know, I was baptized by a Salesian. In this church dedicated to Mary, Help of Christians, a title so dear to St. John Bosco, or Maria Helpum, as you affectionately invoke her here. In 1844, when Our Lady inspired Don Bosco to build a church in her honor in Turin, she made him this promise: "Here is my home, from here my glory." Mary promised him that if he had the courage to begin the construction of the church, great graces would then follow. And so it happened. The church was built. It is marvelous. And I must say that the church here is much nicer than the one in Buenos Aires. And so it happened that the church was built. It is marvelous, and it has become a center for allowing the gospel to shine forth, for forming young people and carrying out works of charity, a reference point for so many people.
Così il bel santuario in cui ci troviamo, che si ispira a quella storia, può essere un simbolo anche per noi, particolarmente in riferimento a 3 aspetti del nostro cammino cristiano e missionario, come hanno sottolineato le testimonianze che abbiamo ascoltato. Il coraggio di cominciare, la bellezza di esserci e la speranza di crescere. 3. Il coraggio di cominciare, la bellezza di esserci, la speranza di crescere. Primo, il coraggio di cominciare. I costruttori di questa chiesa hanno iniziato l'impresa facendo un grande atto di fede che ha portato i suoi frutti e che però è stato possibile solo grazie a tanti altri inizi coraggiosi di chi li ha preceduti. I missionari sono arrivati in questo paese alla metà del XIX secolo e i primi passi del loro lavoro non sono stati facili, anzi alcuni tentativi sono falliti, ma loro non si sono arresi. Con grande fede e con zelo apostolico hanno continuato a predicare il Vangelo, a servire i fratelli, ricominciando molte volte dove non avevano avuto successo con tanti sacrifici.
The beautiful shrine we find ourselves in now, which is inspired by that story, can be a symbol also for us of 3 aspects of our Christian and missionary journey that were highlighted in the testimonies we just heard. They are the courage to begin, the beauty of being present, and the hope of growing. 3, the courage to begin, the beauty of being present, and the hope of growing. First, the courage to begin. The builders of this shrine began their undertaking with a great act of faith, which has borne fruit. Yet it was only possible because of so many other courageous beginnings by those who had gone before them. Missionaries arrived in this country at the middle of the 19th century, and the first steps of their ministry were not easy. Indeed, some attempts failed. They did not give up, however, and with great faith, apostolic zeal, and many sacrifices, they continued to preach the gospel and serve their brothers and sisters, starting again many times after having failed.
Ce lo ricordano queste vetrate che adesso non si vedono perché è notte, attraverso le quali vetrata la luce del sole ci sorride nei volti di santi e beati, donne e uomini di ogni provenienza, legati alla storia della vostra comunità. Pietro Chanel, protomartire dell'Oceania, Giovanni Mazzugoni e Pietro Torrot, martire della Nuova Guinea, e poi Teresa di Calcutta, Giovanni Paolo II Mary McKillop, Maria Goretti, Laura Vicugna, Seferino Namunculà, Francisco De Sal, Giovanni Bosco, Maria Domenica Mazzarello. Tutti i fratelli e sorelle che in modi e tempi diversi, cominciando e ricominciando tante volte, opere e cammini, hanno contribuito a portare il Vangelo tra voi con una variopinta ricchezza di carismi, animati dallo stesso spirito e dalla stessa carità di Cristo. E grazie a loro, alle loro partenze e ripartenze, i missionari sono donne e uomini di partenza e si tornano di ripartenza. Questa è la vita del missionario, partire e ripartire. Che siamo qui, grazie a loro siamo qui, e che oggi, nonostante le sfide che pure non mancano, continuiamo ad andare avanti senza paura, non so, ma può darsi, sapendo che non stiamo soli e che il Signore che agisce in noi e con noi, rendendoci come loro strumenti della sua grazia. Questa è la nostra vocazione, essere strumenti.
The stained glass windows in the shrine remind us of this. We can't see them right now, but they do. The sunlight smiles on us through the faces of the saints and blesseds, women and men from all backgrounds, connected to the history of your community. Peter Chanel, John Mazzacone, and Peter Torot, martyrs of New Guinea, and also Teresa of Calcutta, John Paul II, Mary McKillop, Maria Goretti, Laura Vincugna, Zeffarino Namuncura, Francis de Sales, John Bosco, Mary Domenica Mazzarello. Brothers and sisters who in different ways and at different times began initiatives and forged paths only to begin again many times over. They contributed to bringing the gospel to you, together with a colorful wealth of charisms animated by the Spirit and the same charity of Christ. And this is the life of the missionary, to depart, to come back, to depart again. It is thanks to them that we are here. It is thanks to them, to their starts and restarts, that we are here, and that despite the current challenges, which are not lacking, we continue to move forward without fear, knowing that we are not alone. It is the Lord who acts in us and with us, making us, like them, instruments of His grace. And that truly is our vocation, to be instruments of the Lord.
E in proposito, anche alla luce di quello che abbiamo sentito, vorrei raccomandarmi una via importante verso cui dirigere le vostre partenze, quella delle periferie di questo Paese. Le periferie di questo Paese. Penso alle persone appartenenti alla fasce più disagiate delle popolazioni urbane, come anche a quelle che vivono nelle zone più remote e abbandonate, dove a volte manca il necessario. E ancora penso a quelle emarginate e ferite, sia moralmente che fisicamente, dal pregiudizio e dalla superstizione, a volte fino al rischio della vita, come ci hanno ricordato James e Sor Lorena. A questi fratelli e sorelle la Chiesa desidera essere particolarmente vicina, perché in loro Gesù è presente in modo speciale. E dove c'è Lui, il nostro capo, siamo anche noi, Sue membra, appartenenti allo stesso corpo. Un corpo ben collegato e ben connesso mediante l'aiuto fornito da tutte le giunture. E per favore non dimenticatevi, vicinanza. Vicinanza. Voi sapete che I tre atteggiamenti più belli di Dio è la vicinanza, la compassione e la tenerezza. Vicinanza, compassione, tenerezza. Se una consacrata, un consacrato, un prete, un vescovo, un servitore, un diacono, non sono vicini, non sono compassionevoli e non sono teneri, non hanno lo spirito di Gesù. Non dimenticate questo: vicinanza, compassione, tenerezza.
In this regard, and in light of what we have heard, I would like to recommend an important direction for your own starts, namely the peripheries of this country. I think of people belonging to the most deprived segments of urban populations, as well as those who live in the most remote and abandoned areas where sometimes basic necessities are lacking. I think too of the marginalized and wounded, both morally and physically, by prejudice and superstition, sometimes to the point of having to risk their lives, as James and Sister Lorena reminded us. The Church desires especially to be close to these brothers and sisters because in them Jesus is present in a special way. And where He, our head, is present, there are we, His members, for we belong to the same body, joined and knit together by every ligament. And please do not forget about this closeness, being close to everybody. The attitude and the ways of God consist of three behaviors: compassion, closeness, and tenderness. And we always need to remember that, especially as priests and deacons and those who serve the people. Compassion, tenderness, and closeness.
E questo ci porta al secondo aspetto, la bellezza di esserci. Possiamo vederla simboleggiata nelle conchiglie china con cui è ornato il presbitero di questa chiesa e che sono segno di prosperità. Esse ci ricordano che il tesoro più bello agli occhi del Padre siamo noi, stretti attorno a Gesù, sotto il manto di Maria, spiritualmente uniti a tutti i fratelli e le sorelle che il Signore ci ha affidato e che non possono essere qui, accesi dal desiderio che il mondo intero possa conoscere il Vangelo e condividerne con noi la forza e la luce. James chiedeva come si fa a trasmettere ai giovani l'entusiasmo della missione. Non penso che ci siano dei tecniche per questo. Un modo collaudato però è proprio quello di coltivare e condividere con loro la nostra gioia di essere Chiesa. Questo lo diceva Benedetto XVI. Coltivare e condividere con loro la nostra gioia di essere Chiesa. Chiesa, casa accogliente, fatta di pietre vive, scelte e preziose, poste dal Signore le une accanto alle altre e cementate dal suo amore. Così, come ci ha ricordato Grace, richiamando l'esperienza del Sinodo, stimandoci e rispettandoci a vicenda e mettendoci al servizio gli uni degli altri, possiamo mostrare a loro e a chiunque ci incontri quanto è bello seguire insieme Gesù e annunciare il suo Vangelo. La bellezza di esserci allora non si sperimenta tanto in occasione dei grandi eventi e nei momenti del successo, quanto piuttosto nella fedeltà e nell'amore con cui ogni giorno ci si impegna a crescere insieme.
This brings us to the second aspect, the beauty of being present. We can see it symbolized in the quina shells, a sign of prosperity that adorns the presbytery of this church. They remind us that we are the most beautiful treasure in the eyes of the Father, Close to Jesus and under the mantle of Mary, we are spiritually united with all our brothers and sisters whom the Lord has entrusted to us, but who cannot be here, ignited by the desire that the whole world may know the gospel and share in its power and light. James asked how we can convey the enthusiasm for mission to young people. I don't think there are techniques for that. One proven way, however, is to cultivate and share with them our joy of being the church. This is what Pope Benedict said, to cultivate and share with them our joy of being the church. The church, a welcoming home made up of living, chosen, and precious stones, placed by the Lord next to each other and cemented by his love. As Grace's experience of the Synod reminds us, by esteeming and respecting one another and putting ourselves at the service of one another, we can show everyone we meet how beautiful it is to follow Jesus together and proclaim his gospel. The beauty of being present, then, is experienced not so much at large events and moments of success, but rather in the faithfulness and love with which we strive to grow together every day.
E così giungiamo al terzo e ultimo aspetto, la speranza di crescere. In questa chiesa c'è un'interessante catechesi in immagini del passaggio del Mar Rosso con le figure di Abramo, Isacco e Mosè, i patriarchi resi fecondi nella fede che per aver creduto hanno ricevuto in dono una numerosa discendenza. E questo è un segno importante perché incoraggia anche noi oggi ad avere fiducia nella fecondità del nostro apostolato, continuando a gettare piccoli semi di bene nei solchi del mondo. Sembrano minuscoli, come un granello di senape, ma se ci fidiamo e non smettiamo di spargerli, per grazia di Dio germoglieranno, daranno un raccolto abbondante e produrranno alberi capaci di accogliere gli uccelli del cielo. E lo dice San Paolo, quando ci ricorda che la crescita di Dio, la crescita di ciò che noi seminiamo, non è opera nostra, ma del Signore. E lo insegna la Madre Chiesa, quando sottolinea che pure attraverso i nostri sforzi è Dio a far sì che venga il suo regno sulla terra. Perciò noi continuiamo ad evangelizzare pazientemente, senza lasciarsi scoraggiare da difficoltà e incomprensioni, nemmeno quando queste si presentano là dove meno vorremmo incontrarle, in famiglia, ad esempio, come abbiamo sentito.
Now we come to the third and final aspect, the hope of growing. In this shrine there is an interesting catechesis through images, incorporating the crossing of the Red Sea and the figures of Abraham, Isaac, and Moses. They are the patriarchs made fruitful through faith, who received a gift of numerous offspring because they believed. This is an important symbol because it also encourages us today to have confidence in the fruitfulness of our apostolate, continuing to sow tiny seeds of good in the furrows of the world. They may seem small, like a mustard seed, but if we trust and do not stop scattering them, by God's grace they will sprout, yield an abundant harvest, and produce trees capable of welcoming the birds of the air. St. Paul reminds us that the growth of what we sow is not our own work, but the Lord's. Holy Mother Church teaches the same thing when emphasizing that even with our own efforts, God is the one who makes his kingdom come to earth. Let us continue, therefore, to evangelize patiently, without allowing ourselves to be discouraged by difficulties or misunderstandings, even when they arise in places where we especially do not want to encounter them. In the family, for example, as we have heard.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, ringraziamo insieme il Signore per come il Vangelo attecchisce e si diffonde in Papua Nuova Guinea e nelle isole Salomone. Continuate così la vostra missione come testimoni di coraggio, di bellezza e di speranza. E non dimenticate lo stile di Dio, vicinanza, compassione e tenerezza, sempre avanti con questo stile del Signore. Vi ringrazio per quello che fate, vi benedico tutti di cuore e vi chiedo per favore di non dimenticate di pregare per me, perché ho bisogno. Grazie.
Dear brothers and sisters, let us thank the Lord together for how the gospel has taken root and continues to spread in Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. Carry on your mission as witnesses of courage, beauty, and hope. And do not forget the style of God, which is closeness, tenderness, and compassion. I thank you for what you are doing, and I bless you all from my heart. And I ask you, please, do not forget to pray for me. I have need of your prayers. Thank you.
And that was the address of our Holy Father, Pope Francis.
But pray in favor, not against.
And a few words in English from our Holy Father. One of his standard lines when asking for prayers, he always asks people to pray for him and not against him. And always nice to hear our Father saying a few words in English. And want to say thank you too to Monsignor Christopher Washington, who translated for the Holy Father and did a fantastic job keeping up with the Holy Father's spontaneous remarks. Our Holy Father usually speaks with the prepared text and often
Think about that,
and
you know, he spoke in 3 places today.
Often speaks off the cuff and in places to supplement the prepared remarks. We do have, as you heard earlier, we had some technical difficulties, and so we've picked up the commentary from the local church and the local broadcast. Thanks to them for helping us out with that, and again, thanks to our technicians. And now our Father finishes the prayer.
Now and ever. The Lord is with you.
And with your spirit.
Blessed be the name of the Lord. Our help is in the name of the Lord.
Who made heaven.
May Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And you heard there our Holy Father leading the faithful in the Our Father, and then giving his blessing, both in English, and so a remarkable instance. It's always nice to hear the Holy Father speaking in English.
Where the shrine of Mary, Help of Christian, addressing the bishops, priests, religious, and catechists, and in doing so, acknowledging them.
And at the conclusion of this event, with the bishops of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, as well as other pastoral workers, including priests, deacons, consecrated men and women, seminarians, catechists, a few words of greetings, and an exchange of gifts.
Is a multiple structured sailing watercraft traditionally used in the Hiri trade cycle. Lakotois are fashioned from 2 or more dugout logs fastened together to give stability and cargo carrying capacity. The 2 or more dugouts are joined by poles with a platform built on top. The sail is a crab claw sail. The Motuans lived in a dry region. Because of the harsh, dry season, they did not have enough suitable areas for the growing of sago. On the other hand, the Motuans, unlike most people of Papua New Guinea, were skilled in the art of making clay cooking pots. During the traditional Hiri trade, they carried the much prized Motu cooking pots to the people of the Gulf of Papua and brought back plentiful supplies of sago for the Motuans. The gift that we are going to present to you is a replica of one such lakatoi. As we present this gift to you, Holy Father, we humbly ask you, please remember Papua New Guinea in your prayers.
A description there of the gift of a replica of native sailing vessel offered to the Holy Father with a little explanation of the gift.
Here the lokatoi presented to the Holy Father, and he's also asked to remember Papua New Guinea in his prayers.
And as the meeting with bishops, priests, consecrated persons, seminarians, catechists, and deacons draws to a close, the Holy Father will meet some of those presents, beginning with the bishops. And again, an important moment in all of these events. At the conclusion, and certainly one of the moments that our Holy Father very much enjoys, is the opportunity to speak individually with those who are present. You'll see it at most of the events when he is able to arrange that. Sometimes scheduling makes it impossible, but by and large, the Holy Father, after his events, will make himself available to speak with at least some of those present and share a word with them. Many people will come up and say thank you, will ask for prayers. Some people will share stories or testimonies with him. And it is truly remarkable with every person that comes forward. The Holy Father gives them his full attention and time, and shares their stories and engages with them very personally. Right now we'll have a photo, I believe, with first the bishops and then with the other people, probably a representation of other people who are present for this event. A few words about the Pope's schedule during the picture taking here. The Holy Father, this is his last event today. He had several other meetings. This is his first full day in Papua New Guinea in Port Moresby. He began after arriving yesterday evening. He stayed at the Apostolic Nunciature. This morning, after Holy Mass celebrated privately at the Nunciature, the Holy Father visited Government House, the official residence of the Governor General, who represents the Sovereign, King Charles III. Papua New Guinea is a sovereign, independent Commonwealth nation. And the King of Papua New Guinea, who has that title in addition to his other titles, And Charles III, of course, is also, and perhaps most prominently, King of England, and is represented as the head of state by the Governor General. The Holy Father, Pope Francis, met with the Governor General this morning. Afterwards, he had an encounter with civil authorities, members of society, and the diplomatic corps.
Not only the families themselves, but the whole community can stand together.
That took place this morning, and immediately before this event, the Holy Father traveled to the Caritas Technical Secondary School, his first event of the afternoon after lunch, and there he met with children who are associated with the street ministry service and the Callan services, both of which assist the children of Papua New Guinea. Following this event, again, it's the last event of the day, and ended up going a little later than expected.
Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands.
But he will be finishing here after a photograph with the bishops of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. He'll return to the Apostolic Nunciature where he's staying and have dinner there. Tomorrow, Sunday, September 8th, which is the feast of the birth of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Holy Father has a very full schedule. He'll be visiting with the Prime Minister, whom he will receive at the Apostolic Nunciature. And then in the morning, he will celebrate Mass at the local stadium named for Sir John Geese.
An opportunity that you would have been there doing that, but
and the Sunday celebration, of course, is the 23rd Sunday of Ordinary Time, so we do invite you to join us for Mass tomorrow with the Holy Father. That begins at 8:45 local time, which is 12:45 at night, just after midnight Rome time. We do invite you to join us in that celebration to participate in the liturgy with the Holy Father for the 23rd Sunday of Ordinary Time.
We'll try and get an opportunity to shake his hand.
After lunch, the Holy Father is actually traveling to the remote diocese of Venimo, one of the most remote dioceses in Papua New Guinea, and there he will meet the faithful at the cathedral. Let me make sure I have that correct. Yep, with the faithful outside the cathedral, and immediately afterwards he will have meeting with a group of missionaries whom he will meet at the Holy Trinity Humanistic School of Barrow. It's actually almost 1,000 kilometers from Venimo to from Port Moresby to Venimo. 991 kilometers each way. It's a 2-hour and 15-minute flight. So the Holy Father will have a very long day of a lot of travel tomorrow, and of course it's very important for him to meet those on the peripheries. That's been a recurring theme from this journey, and certainly the Holy Father putting his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and taking that long journey to be part of and to be present to the local community, even in the more distant reaches of the country. The meeting with the faithful will be broadcast tomorrow. The meeting with the missionaries is a private meeting, so we will not have broadcast for that. And finally, on Monday, the Holy Father will spend one more day in Papua New Guinea before traveling to Dili in Timor-Leste which will be the third stage of his apostolic journey. And finally, later in the week, traveling to Singapore to wrap up one of the longest journeys of his pontificate. So we invite you to join us for the various events along the way.
And you're quite right, Archbishop.
And again, I'd like to invite you to visit our Vatican Media web portal, which you'll find on the internet at www.vaticannews.com. Once again, www.vaticannews.com. And there we have articles and stories, interviews from the Pope's journey.
If you like, we could say that this is
and the Holy Father is appearing at the balcony. Looks to be saying a few words here.
God bless you. I pray for you. You pray for me. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much. I will bless you. God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Bye-bye.
And a very charming address to the people waiting outside the sanctuary in English, and the Holy Father speaking very confidently in English. A very simple message. I want to bless you. I will pray for you. Please pray for me. And then giving the blessing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in English. Returning inside the shrine once more, the Holy Father is able to greet the pastoral workers who are present with the deacons, priests, catechists, brothers and sisters, catechists, whom I've already mentioned, and other pastoral workers reaching out to touch the Holy Father's hands, to greet him, and to assure him of their prayers. And with that final blessing and the final tour of the sanctuary, our meeting with the bishops of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, with priests, deacons, consecrated women and men, seminarians, and catechists, is drawing to a close. And as we conclude, I would like to thank once again our partner stations, EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom TV India, and Sunday Shalom, Shalom World TV, Catholic TV, Luminous Radio India, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, who collaborate on these broadcasts. Thanks to our technicians here and locally who worked through all of the technical difficulties. Thanks to the local commentaries who filled in for us at several points, and thanks to everybody who made all of this possible. We really appreciate the hard work of everybody who helps out. Once again, my name is Christopher Wells. It's been a very great pleasure and privilege to share this moment of the Holy Father's apostolic journey with you. And we do invite you back for all of the events of the Apostolic Voyage of Pope Francis to Asia and Oceania. Thanks once again. From Rome, my name is Christopher Wells. Thanks once again. Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ.